So let's get started. I'd like to firstly introduce our session moderator. We have with us Ankur Khosla of Ankur Khosla Design Studio, Mumbai. If I may please invite you, ma'am, on the stage. Let's have a round of applause to welcome our session moderator. And joining her on the stage, I'd now like to invite our esteemed set of panel members as well. So please put your hands together to welcome on stage Miss Nisha Jamwal of Nisha Jamwal Design, Mumbai. May I further invite A.H.A. Hakim of A.H.A. Hakim Architect, Pune, and Lipika Sood Interiors, New Delhi. Let's have a round of cheer from across the hall. Everyone, come on, let's have a huge round of applause. Our first panel discussion for the day two. And we've got a stellar lineup of speakers here. Welcome, sir. All right, so on that note, looks like we're all set. I'm going to request you, ma'am, to please take it over from here.
So good morning, everyone. I think we've had a beautiful round of invigorating conversation started with Mrs. Kundu, a round of lot of innovation and creativity at the forefront. What I'm really trying to understand is and trace the origin. Do you think that there are a lot of seminal influences in your lives in terms of it could be personal, educational, philosophical, which have really helped you or rooted in your creative endeavors? So starting with you, Nisha.
So I think the genesis of my entire design life, my entire career has been to unlearn. I was, first of all, let me say that I'm so excited to be here. Brilliantly put together exposition, and it's been so stimulating to meet so many interesting minds. Um, Coming back to what we are discussing, I feel very privileged to be in this panel, and thank you, Ankur, for asking me those very stimulating questions yesterday on email. My entire life has been a process of unlearning. Um, I, I've always been a person in the world of art. And if you ask me, one of the main influences since I was nearly 3 was from my parents who actually said things like, you know, you can walk on water and you can walk through walls. It's all a mindset. So I grew up with an unconventional mindset toward art and design. Um, One of the first things that was unconventional is where other children were told not to write on walls. I was given crayons and paints to paint on walls.
That's brilliant. Taking further, Lipika, what is your thought process, creative thought process?
Oh, well, creativity is a very generic, a big term actually, and I think there's creativity everywhere in every human being. So my journey, if you would ask me, see, I've always been very interested in design. It's just that from the time if I go back where I started my learning, the education part of it, the formal education, it was always a situation, unlike Nisha, who was very lucky to have, given crayons to write on walls and to do things which are different and acceptable, not by the norm, but, by the exceptions. I was typically, studying commerce in school, went on to study, graduated from the Sriram College of Commerce, and had a degree in management, had a degree in law. And all of that was happening to me because that's what the society demanded.
And what about you, Ijaz? Do you have something dramatically different than the ladies out here, the beautiful ladies?
Yeah, I like a little bit more meat in my gravy. Um, I think I'm trying to consider that most of the audience is already uh, comprising of architects who are active in the field, and they've gone through the learning process and they've done what they need to do, and they've already learned from the clients and from wherever they need to learn. So there's learning, there's unlearning, and now I think what I want to focus is on learn to unlearn.
Ijaz, do you feel that that this barrage of information through Facebook, Pinterest, that when one is looking for creative, innovative thought, you tend to refer to the net a lot, and do you think that this entire aspect of globalization, we're all getting flat, But is our sensibility of design also becoming very akin to everyone around us globally? And do you think, in that aspect, the need to, when you're trying to innovate and create, is when you are facing certain blockages or certain thought process, that need, or that when is that creative moment in your life?
Listen, I'm old school. I went through 5 years of architecture, and at that point in time, I didn't really care about architecture. I wasn't an ideal architecture student. But now, since I've become an architect, those 5 years are really valuable to me, and I think breathe architecture. This beast is too big for me to kill, but I'm still stabbing it a moment at a time. There's always influences from all over the world. At that point in time, we were just consumed by architecture. I'm still consumed by architecture, but it was forced on us. Right now, it's my choice. But it's payback time for me. Those years of my prime years is what I am trying to use the information from that time and the habits of those time and use them now. So honestly, I don't have time for a block, or all my blocks were removed from by my teachers. There was no time for blocks at that point in time. We kind of learn to manage our time, learn to manage our resources, as most uh, intelligent architects would do. And there's always been, I mean, lifelong, there have been influences, there will be influences. It's what you bring to the table. It's your brain versus the rest of the world. I'm one of those guys who tries to keep it under the carpet all the time. You visit my website, there's just one black page. I don't try to show everything that I do. You want to find me, come and get me. That's my way of looking at the world and my way of dealing with architecture.
Question?
Yes, ma'am.
Just
We
one
have room
question?
for one question.
One
So we'll have the
question.
gentleman right there.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Shashank Agarwal. I do have a question actually to all of you. Do you think that all these social websites and Facebook, Pinterest, and all these are actually creating hindrance and blockage in a mind to be more creative and think? We go to a client, he already has the pictures and what he actually wants. We just have to detail it and make it on the site. Even the big shots in the Delhi or in whole over India or world, they are using the reference images from Google's and just pasting it, copywriting it, and making it a design. So
Very, very relevant question, and I think that was also what we were trying to ask and understand. I think very brief, since we're running short of time, and I'm getting the buzzers and the looks. So let's do a quick.
Frank Lloyd Wright said sometime in the 50s, every architect deserves his client, every client deserves his architect. It's a symbiotic relationship. It needs to be kept in balance. You cannot allow a client to dictate to you as an architect, because what's the value that I can get to the project? You just may as well have Google Chacha tell you everything and get a couple of carpenters and get some skilled people and they can execute it. On the other hand, the role of an architect is also to carry this entire burden. It's not just a pretty picture, a nice drawing, a nice building at the end of it. It's the responsibility that you carry. If you are going to let your right as an architect, which includes the responsible part of architecture, be taken away by social media, I mean, you decide what kind of architect you want to be. Can
I
I say
hope
one last thing? I think, I'm sorry I'm hogging all the time, but this is something that I really have been wanting to say
You're not hogging. You, in fact, you've been very participatory.
since a very long time. I mean, few years I've been trying to say this, that every time when it comes to Indian architecture, that's how I feel. That Indian architects are always treated as vernacular architects. We are never considered as forefront design architects. And I feel that we always fall back on the skill labor, on the things of the past, and we depend very heavily on them. I think it's one thing to know about what the skilled workmen have done, and that's their strength. But as architects, I would like to see, um, in my generation or the future generation, people actually coming to forward on the world stage, and they are there on their own steam, on their own brain, on their own design, and they are not talking about Indian architecture and Jharoka and Jali and craftsmanship. I think it's all done and dusted. The Mughals took that with them. I mean, what are we doing now? That's what I would really want to see with.
So brilliant! Since we are in the on InfoAid, which is the Festival of Architecture and Interior Design, a platform where we really wish to innovate, create, and bring Indian design to an international platform, which is what they had shared with me, that they're really endeavoring to take Indian designers at an international level. Let's hope that we all can rise to different levels of design. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation.